Hello everyone, my name is Graham and I'll be doing a tutorial for you on AutoCAD Plant 3D. AutoCAD Plant 3D is an overlay of your vanilla AutoCAD but with extra features specifically for plant design. Most notable for your design project, it will help with the creation of piping and instrumentation diagrams or the P&IDs that you'll probably need to do for your presentation. So to get started, you'll want to open Plant 3D, just like this. It may take a minute to open, especially if it's the first time you've ever opened it on one of the McGill computers. While it's doing that, I'll explain what I'm going to go over. So, AutoCAD, I'm going to go over, for AutoCAD, creating your project that all your drawings will go into and your P&IDs. Basic operation of those P&IDs, so I'll give you a bit of a demo, putting in pipelines and some equipment. I'll go over tagging that equipment and those pipelines, and then I'll go over some of the document properties that you can change that shows up on your P&IDs. I will not be going over how to draft and annotate and draw with AutoCAD. If you need a tutorial for that, the videos that the chemical engineering department put out last year have a bit of a tutorial for that, or you can also do what I did, which was just look it up on YouTube. There are a million intro tutorials, and AutoCAD in 2 dimensions is not very complicated. And then in my following video, I will be going over a couple things that I found less intuitive about Plant 3D. Most importantly, adding your custom symbols, because you will probably need some custom symbols. The libraries will not have absolutely everything you need. I will also be going over things like off-page connectors, if you have multiple P&IDs, some control instrumentation, how that works, very brief overview. And I'll also give an overview of how to print your project, because it does come out on A1 paper typically, which is massive, and you'll need to shrink it down. So we'll just wait for AutoCAD to finish loading here. It always takes a minute. Almost done. Okay. You can say OK here. You may also get a pop-up asking you how you want AutoCAD to associate DWG files. Just pick the recommended option. Great. Welcome to AutoCAD. I think we're just about done loading here. There we go. So, AutoCAD Plant 3D looks very similar to regular AutoCAD, except there's a different toolbar, there's a couple different things on the sides, but it's no big deal. Let's get started. You can go to the Start menu. You don't necessarily have to, though. You're going to want to click this drop down and start a new project. Enter a name for this project. Pick something appropriate. It will show up on your P&ID drawings, and it is very difficult to change later, so I like to give it a relatively straightforward and safe name. Maybe your group number. This is a demo. You can title your project whatever you want. I like to save things on the desktop. That's just me. Say next. Again, this is also very difficult to change later. Your units for the drawings. Ask your design leader what they want, or if you don't think they care, just pick whatever you want. I'm going to go with metric units. However, nominal diameters, these are for your pipe sizings. Most commonly in industry, those are done in inches, so I'm going to go with inches here. The symbology, this is the library of equipment that Plant 3D will give you to work with, and it'll change a couple other things. Again, very challenging to change later, so I recommend checking with your design leader or just picking one. PIP is the one you've seen the most in industry over the past century. It's most similar to what Norman Peters kind of went over in process design. ISO is newer. It has a much larger library, more of the generic symbols like heat exchangers and pumps and things, and is becoming more standard. DIN and just ISO are smaller and lesser used, but again, just ask your design leader what they want. I'm going to go with ISO because it has the largest library. You don't have to change any of these. Keep your SQL local. I wouldn't recommend messing with SQL. And that's it. So you're going to click finish here, and it's once again going to take a while to load. Great, looks like we're done. Great, so now you can see that our current project no longer says default project and is empty. It's our new project. So looking at this, this is now a folder wherever you created it. You can see mine is on my desktop. It's over here. And it has a bunch of folders that you can open. They're all empty except for pipe spec. There's many pipe specs. But the one you're most likely interested in is PNIDs. Plant 3D can also do isometric drawings and even 3D layouts if you want to put in that time, but you probably won't have time to do that. But we'll get started. To get started, we'll create a new PNID. So we'll right-click, new drawing. This file name can be changed later, thankfully, so just name it something else. We'll call this, I'm going to be putting in a heat exchanger, so we'll call it heat exchanger 1. I don't know. You can decide whatever author name you want. This can also be changed later. And say OK. Perfect. So if you notice, it will already load in the typical PNID shape that you've seen before. Heat exchange. You can see there's the name of our document, the title, and general notes section, all this, and obviously our big drawing board. So let's get started drawing something. To do that, we need to change our tool palette. So we'll go over to Workspaces, and we'll select whichever PNID workspace that you chose. I chose ISO. Great, this is better. Perfect. I'm just going to move this over here. Great. So this is your tool palette. This is the library that comes with ISO or pip or whichever you picked. You can see these are the pipelines that you'll primarily be using, your big one and your little one. These are for if you're sending a bunch of back and forth with your superiors, like new segment, existing segment. You probably won't touch these too much. Your instrument lines, general signal, electrical signal. It looks a little different than pip, but that's just the symbology that they use. Radiation. This is your equipment. You can see lots of different equipment that you might use. There's some tanks, conveyors, heat exchangers are up towards the top. You got your heat exchangers, even other special U-tube and shell and tube heat exchangers. Your valves, these will come up more for instrumentation and safety. Same thing with your fittings. Instruments, there's your control valve, it's also over here too, and your general instruments that comes up in control, and your non-engineering stuff, most importantly the off-page connector that we'll get to in the next video. So let's get started. Let's put in a heat exchanger. So to put something in, you do not click and drag, you'll just click once and then put it in wherever you want. There it is. And you'll immediately be prompted to tag it. This is naming it like you do with a PFD and everything. Give it whatever number you want. You can also automate it. So this is the first heat exchanger. Its type is W for ISO. It's the German word for heat exchanger, starts with W. And we can assign an equipment tag after. There's a couple different kinds. Perfect, so we'll assign that. Typically those tags for equipment go up at the top. Perfect. And there's our heat exchanger. He's a little small, that's okay. If you want to rescale things, you can just use the scale command like typical with AutoCAD. I'm not going to, but you can. Great, let's add some pipes to him. So this will be our primary line running through. Click once, again, don't click and drag. If you click again, it'll give you a breakpoint to change directions, and then you want to connect it to the heat exchanger. Keep in mind that node symbol with the circle and the cross through it means that you're actually connecting it to an attachment point of the heat exchanger. This is important. It helps AutoCAD maintain logic with your drawing because there are different validations and things you can do with it to like proof your project and make sure it all makes sense over here. It's a little complicated though, so you might not necessarily need to use it. But try and connect things to attachment points where possible. It will also make, say I needed to move him down, it'll make moving him much, much easier because everything will know where to go. Same thing again. So yeah, you'll notice I can kind of put a pipeline wherever I want, but it really works best if you connect it to nodes. So I'll do this one again here. We'll make them go down maybe. I don't know where it has to go. There. And if you're done and you're not connecting it to anything, just hit enter and it'll connect to the last point that you clicked on. Great. So now we have a heat exchanger W01. And it's some pipelines, and you can see that when I hover over the pipelines, they attach to our heat exchanger. So let's go ahead and tag these pipelines too while we're at it. So you can right-click on the pipeline, and you can click Assign Tag. So now you've got your main tag up here and its constituents. So your size, this is, as I picked inches, it comes up in inches, otherwise it'll come up in millimeters. If you pick metric, I'll say maybe it's a big tube, it's a big one. I'll say 10 inches. And then these are your specs. So I will extend this a little bit so you can read. This is a little different than PIP. It's just another way to say what kind of pipe it is. HC is carbon steel and HS is stainless steel. You can create custom specs. I'm not going to get into it, but if you have some funky pipes that you really need and your design leader is real adamant about it, you can create your own custom specs. You'll just need to look up that on the internet. The PN is your nominal pressure, the pressure the pipes are meant to withstand. We'll say that it's meant to withstand, it's going to be stainless steel or even carbon steel, and it'll need to withstand 10 bars of pressure. Pipeline group service, you can add custom of these too. But you have plenty to choose from here. Let's say we're gonna be, this is the tube side, so we'll be heating up natural gas. And pipeline number, be pipeline 1. And then notice this is a pipeline tag, it's a little different than one of the other kinds of tags, but if we check this to annotate it after assigning, we'll say assign. And now we can put it wherever we want. Let's put it right here. Pick somewhere on the pipeline usually, and you'll notice there's our tag. We're all done. Let's do the same thing to this second one. I'll go a little faster this time. Let's say it's still 10 inches. Maybe now it's hotter though, and it needs to be stainless steel. Doesn't really, whatever you need to do. It's still natural gas. And this is pipeline 2. Assign. You can also assign them vertically. So I'll assign it somewhere like here. Ta-da! All done. And then if you need to move these later, it's very simple. Just click it, find one of these drag bars, and just drag it along where you need to go, and everything comes with it. Perfect. Let's add our other pipeline that'll run through it. I, just as a little quirk of mine, I like to start at the node, even if the pipeline is going to that node. And I'll hit enter here, just because it's easier to line up to the node rather than trying to guess where you're going to go. But if you need to reverse the flow, it's super easy. Right-click this, schematic line edit, reverse flow. Ta-da! Now it's running to heat exchanger W1. And we'll add a secondary line here too. It'll come on down here, say enter. Perfect. We now have a heat exchanger that's heating natural gas. Maybe there's steam, really hot steam coming through. I don't know. Great. So that's a general overview of how to manipulate your drawing. You can do whatever you need to. Pipelines can overlap pretty easily. You can change the setting of how the little jump does in settings. And that's a little overview on how to tag things. So let's go to our project. So the only other thing I wanted to cover in this first video is what to do with all of these settings. These are your these can be changed in your document properties. You can't just click on them and edit them. You can a little bit, but the easier and more effective way to do it is to right-click on your drawing over on your file tree, go to Properties, and here you can change your drawing number. This is important for off-page connectors, but this will be drawing number 1. You can also change your area. That'll change down here. You can also make this area 1. Maybe it's area 001. I don't know. And description, you can change it to whatever you want again. Call this demo HE and say OK. Great, those are saved, but they don't appear. To make them appear, you can either do Control S to quick save your drawing, or you can come up here and do the exact same thing. And now you'll see they'll update properly. This is the address of your project, so that might not change, or you might not have one for your design project. It's fine. It doesn't really matter all too much. But yeah, okay. And that's a basic overview of how to use AutoCAD Plant 3D. You notice how much faster it was to create something like this rather than using Visio or MS Paint. So to save and exit out of our project to make sure we save properly, just make sure everything's saved like so. And then if you want to close out your drawing, you can either just close AutoCAD and everything's saved, but if you need to get out of your project, you can go back to your default project. This must be closed. Say OK. Notice I already saved it, and we're done. We're done with AutoCAD. So I will see you in the next video.